think this is it. 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 This is it.
Let's go, boys.
Theamine, Theamine, Theamine. That is the topic that is on the forefront of everybody's minds right now because, more likely than not, you're probably doing Theamine right now as we speak, as you're watching this video. And for good reason, right? It's one, an extremely fun raid, so a lot of people want to continue doing it. But two, it's also an extremely hard raid, so a lot of people are probably still stuck clearing their first time. And for those who have cleared their first time already, congratulations to you, you're one of the few. For me, my party cleared about 2 days ago, and I was so psyched, and I'm excited to clear my second time with my breaker. But we're not here to talk about clears today. We're kind of here to actually talk about the opposite, the lack of clears. Because like I said, Theamine is an extremely hard boss. I think that probably by the end of the week, maybe 30 to 40% of the people who are going to be able, who are currently doing Theamine, will have probably cleared, and the rest of the 60 to 70 might not have cleared even normal Gate 3 by then. Not just because of like average player skill level, but also I think like there's going to be a lot of gatekeeping. There's going to be a lot of players who aren't able to find parties that are all at equal skill levels, and as a result, making the prog experience much harder. There's going to be a lot of situations that make it so that a lot of people can't clear on week 1, and as a result, anybody who can't clear on week 1 is probably going to have a worse off time in week 2, because this week is probably where people are going to be gatekept the least, right? As the following weeks come, as this raid becomes older and older, it's going to be gatekept more and more and more, and there's going to be more requirements and more kind of checks for people who have actually cleared the raid before. And I think ultimately this is terrible for the game. While I think that the raid itself is super fun, right? When I cleared it, I felt such a big sense of accomplishment, but also on top of that, just the process of clearing the raid was like my most enjoyable one. I think Theamine is the most fun raid out of the entire game so far, and probably one of the best designed ones as well. But that doesn't mean that it's good for the game, because I always say this, but I don't think people quit the game when they're leveling. Oh, a lot of people do quit when they're leveling, but I don't think that's the biggest reason why people quit, right? Especially now with like power passes. People don't quit because of leveling their characters for 150. People don't quit because they're dying a ton on raids. People don't quit because they're getting, toxicity from other players. People usually quit when they're being gatekept a ton and are in lobby simulator forever. Because let's face it, all we want to do is just play the game. And if you're playing lobby simulator, you're basically being prevented from playing the game. And nobody wants that, right? Everybody wants to be able to play the game, play the Lost Ark's most fun part, which is raiding. And as a result, I think that Theamine might be a little bit too hard for our current players. And again, I think that difficulty is totally fine for people who are running together in a static, but if we're talking about the average player experience, the average reclear, it's gonna be brutal. Like, getting into the party is going to be hard, and then after getting into the party, you're probably also going to be stuck on Gate 3 for hours, for at least a month, I'd say, like for the average person. And that's just never a good experience for anybody. So I think this is the big question. Do I think that Theamine needs a nerf? Now, I understand that in Korea, Theamine is actually harder than what we have here. It actually did get nerfed coming to the Northern America, the NAEU SA version. So do I think that it needs another nerf? And unfortunately, I do think that the answer is probably a yes. I think that as much as I enjoy the raid, as great as it is, I think that if the raid is not enjoyable or able to be enjoyed by most players because they're getting gatekept, I think that's ultimately a problem that the game has to fix. Even though you can say it's a skill issue, whatever, I do think that there is an issue with catering a game, catering a fight only towards like the top 1%. Take Wildstar, for example, right? That was a game that was supposed to be like the WoW kind of killer because it brought back a lot of the really hardcore raiding elements from old WoW that people were kind of missing and didn't have in current WoW. And what happened to that game? Well, that game unfortunately is dead. That game doesn't exist anymore because it tried too hard to cater to that 1%. And then everybody else felt ostracized. They felt that they couldn't play the game at the end game because it was way too hard. And I think that's the same with Lost Ark. Unfortunately, with games, you can't just cater to the top percentile of the community, and you have to cater it to the majority, which is the more average players. Now, of course, you don't want to just have a game that is very easily clearable by everybody, right? You do want to have a bit of a spectrum where the average players are going to be having fun with the raid, being able to clear it regularly, but also provides a challenge to the more hardcore players and, that 1%. But that balance is always really hard to strike, and I think that unfortunately where Theamine is right now, it does not strike that balance. I do think that it is leaned too much into the side of the 1%, and the average players unfortunately are going to be left behind and are going to be unable to clear this raid regularly as homework content. So what can we do? I think honestly, maybe just nerfing the damage to some of the attacks, right? I think there are a lot of one-shot mechanics in the game, and those one-shot mechanics in Theamine are probably where most people struggle with the raid. And I also want to draw a connection to another raid in the game, Brel Hard, specifically Old Gate 6, current Gate 4. Back when Brel Hard first came out, that raid was so hard. And the reason why it was so hard is because everything hit super hard and there were so many overlapping normal patterns that caused deaths to just happen left and right. And those normal patterns, I think, are what trip up player the most. It's not the mechanics. It's not that. I think normal attacks that really hurt are where players die the most and cause the most wipes. And that is very similar to Theamine because a lot of his normal patterns basically one-shot you. So I think that at least until everybody gets super overgeared, like we are right now with Brel Hard mode, it's going to be very, very jail to run Theamine week after week. And as a result, I think the only kind of solve for this, at least at the moment, like a current solve, is definitely to take and tune that boss just a little bit down on its damage. I know it's very unfortunate, but that's really the only solution that I can think of to make the boss easier. They already reduced the health, and I don't think the health is an issue. Like, literally, my party bursted it down from 90 bars to 60 bars one time, just off of one clash. It was crazy. But I do think that the normal patterns and the damage that it does, if we tuned it slightly lower, there would be a much higher clear rate. I think that 30 to 40% that I mentioned earlier is probably too low of a clear rate. We probably want to aim for like a 50, 60, 70% number, and that would be a nice sweet spot. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And if you agree with me, how would you change Theamine to make it more accessible to most players? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, please, if you enjoyed the video, remember to hit the like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notifications, and also I stream on twitch.tv/MisoxShiru every single night starting at 10 p.m. PST. So hopefully I see you guys on my stream, but if not, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. Alright guys, peace out.